This is Cody Jones with Jangus Genetics LLC. Got the sheep over here behind me and behind our old Kawasaki mule here. And I've been digging some fence posts, trying to get these sheep to water. And I wanted to talk about the dirt today. Dirt is something that is very precious and very expensive and very valuable to a farmer. And there's not too many other professions out here that work as hard as we do to protect it and to build it. And I'll flip you around and I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about. Fence posts here, and post holes for these big wooden posts that we'll strain our wire against. But the other day I was pushing in these little metal posts, and I was using that big tractor to do it. It saves a little energy. I had somebody there to hold them. Normally you just put that tractor bucket on and you push straight down on top of that post. It'll get it in as deep as you need it to go. Well, we're having a lot of trouble, and we've been really dry the last 2 years. I'd say we've had 2 back-to-back droughts. And we have gotten a little rain to help us out, keep us going, but it's pretty dry. So we got about 3 inches of rain this week. And up on top of this hill, we couldn't push these fence posts 3 inches into the ground. I thought that was crazy. But I've always heard that in any kind of field that you don't have livestock in, your dirt is always running downhill. And so this farm does have livestock, but we've just started regenerating it, rotating, and where you can see we've grazed this a little too deep. We had to sacrifice it a little bit because the land sold right behind us and the neighbor wanted to build a new fence. So we had to pull the sheep up here. We're keeping them in this lot for a while before we get them out, and they've grazed it harder than I like to. But I wanted to show you this because this is pretty cool. So right here where I'm standing, pretty much the top of this hill, I have hit solid clay. And that's as deep as I can get that shovel to go in. And that's this whole hilltop here, over the whole thing. I'm getting ready to try to dig a fence post, and that one up there on top of the hill 2 or 3 months ago took me, it was taking me about 45 minutes. And granted, this isn't a very good post hole digger, but 45 minutes to use that tractor to dig a post hole, that's probably $200 an hour. So that's not fun. But here is a place where I set out a hay bale last year. And this is what I want to show you. It's really cool. So, oh, I missed that. I'll do it again. You can look and see how easy it is. When we're regenerating this land, we're taking hay off other people's farms. We're farming in a more conventional manner. We're bringing it here. We're bringing in the fertilizer and stuff that everybody's putting on their hay, and we're just feeding that. We're buying that hay in and feeding it right to our livestock. And to me, that's the best, cheapest way to go out and to build your soil. So next year, this will probably grow a bunch of weeds. Actually, it's got pretty good grass on it, but normally you see these spots, they'll grow a bunch of weeds. You can see over there, there's a hay bale from last year. If you don't mow them, which I don't, these weeds aren't real aggressive, so I didn't worry about it this year. But anyway, this soil, the few years after that, is just going to be absolutely incredible. It's going to be the most fertile place on the farm for years. It's easy to dig in, and it does some really cool things. So that's kind of, you get to see that when you're digging post holes. We shoved in that post right there, just sunk right on in. And over here again, I mean, this is older established grass, and we've actually unrolled hay out here before, so it's not a totally fair comparison, but I mean, it's still that sticky clay. You can see some foxtail. It grows on pretty poor soil, usually pretty abused soil. So anyway, kind of neat, especially when you're digging these post holes. You can see the different layers, and the topsoil on this old farm there's not a lot here, so we're having to build it back. And this hay is the fastest way I've found to do it. I know you could use cover crops on grow a bunch of tonnage, a bunch of carbon on your farm ground, but I haven't been doing that yet. Dad's got some farm ground, but I don't help operate any of it. And so you can see all this stuff on top. You get down in here, you can see the different layers, the different soil types. And that topsoil is just, I mean, just this little layer here, maybe a few millimeters, not very thick at all. And kind of look at the root structure. You can see this grass plant here. That's what you want to see. You want to see real deep roots. Ideally, you'd like to see them 3 or 4 feet. But with that rotational grazing, this is actually pretty good. So that's a good sign, at least. But anyway, you know, if you're going to buy your food from a farmer, and all food comes from farmers, try and find somebody that is getting their hands dirty and trying to build that soil back up. I try to farm the way that nature would if nature had a farmer. And they say that back in the day, you know, we used to have 2 or 3 feet of topsoil, and the bison and the large animals were what really produced that. And so we try to mimic that with cows and sheep, moving them around, building up that carbon in the soil. They're deepening those root systems, growing taller plants, and then coming back in, grazing them and moving them off. Let that plant recover and then growing more carbon. And so we actually increase our grass over just turning them out and leaving them. And it's good for the sheep too, because they get away from the manure, the parasites, and the predators, just like the buffalo herds would have. And it all works in sync the way it's supposed to. But it takes a lot more management, a lot more labor, and a lot more fencing than it used to. And so that's why a lot of people don't do it. But anyway, get your hands dirty and buy your food from a farmer who cares. My tips for the day.